and welcome to the Begas Vaby podcast. If you've seen our vlogs, this is just going to be more of the same as we explore and discuss everything Las Vegas. Hello, we're back. This is episode 2 of the Begas Vaby podcast. Thank you to everybody who listened to the first one. Obviously, we are new to this, so we are finding our feet a bit, but we had some really, really lovely comments. So thank you to everybody who listened to the first one and has left a lovely message. And hopefully over the next few weeks, we can bring more of that and lots of guests. I know we already have a couple lined up, so we'll discuss that later. But so welcome back. We are going to be discussing everything Vegas as normal, and I think Michael's going to kick us off this week.
I am, but not with news yet, because we've got to do Vegas sounds. I know it's your favorite. I know it's your favorite part of the show, and if it was for me, I wouldn't do it. But I know how much you love it.
Really, it's got nothing to do with you loving the fact that you have knowledge that I don't.
Well, listen, that's an everyday thing, isn't it? You know,
that is just cheeky. And actually, I did say we're going to discuss everything Vegas. Is there any family members you'd like to insult this week before we start, or are we just going to keep that episode 1?
I think we'll keep that. I mean, we'll just have to wait and see who I might insult this week. You know, I never know who I'm going to insult before I actually do it. It's a gift. So. Anyway, I'm going to play the Vegas sound. For anybody who didn't hear this last week, I play Lindsay an incredibly, instantly recognisable sound of Vegas, and then she gives me the answer, and it's very smooth like that.
Can I just point out that nobody last week said they'd got it either. In fact, some people actually said they didn't have a clue. They didn't get it. So
I think they were just trying to not make you feel bad.
Oh, really?
Because if they come to you on social media and say, "God, I got that instantly," you know, how did you not know that? You would feel bad. And
it was bloody Buffalo. They were just being nice. It was Buffalo. I very rarely play Buffalo because he's mean.
You see, excuses starting already.
Anyway.
I've made it easier this week.
Yeah, right.
It's really, I'd like to say, instantly, you will know what this is, okay? So here we go. There we go.
That's it?
That's it.
Now, hang on, I talked over it. Play it again. It goes like, duh, duh, duh. Is it a casino noise again?
Yes, it is another slot machine.
And again? Ah, man. It's not instantly recognisable.
Well, it is to me, because I spent ages making it.
Is it a game we play?
Yes.
A lot?
More than we play a Buffalo Link.
Oh, God. Well, that's not much, is it? I think we've played Buffalo Link 3 times in our life. Okay, give us it twice in a row. No, I'm not getting it.
Like I say, instantly recognisable. Everybody at home will be, or in the car, wherever they are, they'll be screaming out the answer, and then they'll be sending you tweets and stuff just to make you feel better. Why can you not
just give me, the Dragon Link ball noise or something like that? Something that I know is instantaneous. Or, Little Shop of Horrors. Something that I actually bloody know.
Well, because for one thing, Little Shop of Horrors, whenever I hear the sounds of that, it sends me into a panic attack. Secondly, I have faith in you. I don't want to make things easy for you.
I can't think of anything that goes do.
Again, you know how last week you got fixated on a dinosaur?
Yes.
I feel like you're in danger of becoming fixated again.
So, well, it's either that or I just start randomly shouting slot machines at you. and
which incidentally is how we spend most kind of Thursday nights. She's just kind of sat there and starts randomly shouting. I mean, that's when I know it's time to book a trip to Vegas. When she just sits there and starts, screaming out random names of slot machines.
Right, leave that with me. I'm gonna
Okay.
think about it.
I can hear the cogs turning already. Anyway, news. Obviously, we write Las Vegas news on vegasvaby.com. Check that out if you haven't already. What's caught your eye, Lindsay?
Oh, mine.
Oh no, we did you first last week. Let's do
Okay.
me first this week. MGM Rewards have a promotion, a Formula One themed one, because apparently everybody in Las Vegas has gone Formula One crazy. So they're doing this thing where you can get a platinum tier in 2 days, which sounds good, right?
Very.
Yeah. The bad news is you've got to spend a frankly obscene amount of money to do that. A little bit, about half as obscene as you would have had to have done without this thing, but still an obscene amount. It's they're calling it a tier credit accelerator. And
See what they did there. Formula One accelerator.
And it's running until the end of July, I believe. So we will be in Vegas for it if we want to take advantage. So
All right. So how many millions of dollars is this going to cost us?
well, it's going to be if you earn 5,000 tier credits, they're going to give you an extra 1,250. Sorry, if you earn 5,000 in 1 day.
So 5,000 is good because it's 4 tier credits for every dollar, isn't it?
Yeah.
So you're talking about spending what, $1,250?
Yeah.
$1,250 in a day. Then
Yeah.
you will get 5,000 credits, and then they'll boost you by another $1,250. Is that right?
Yes, which is ultimately useless because that's not going to get you up any tiers, as we know.
Okay.
Of course, you could earn 10,000 credits in 1 day, and that would get you an extra 5,000 credits.
Well, yeah. I mean, I often just walk in and spend $2,500 in my casino in a day.
Yeah. Anyway, or you can spend, I think it's 20,000 in 1 day. Sorry, I keep on saying spend. You could
You
earn.
mean like earn the yeah?
You can earn 20,000 credits in 1 day, and they will give you another 20,000, on them. So you end up with 40,000.
I mean, I can see what they're doing. I think promotions like this store almost just. I think if you're maybe new to Vegas or new to MGM Rewards, it'll be a good deal. I think for anybody like us who previously used to be on M Life, who used to get 25 credits for every dollar, and now when he gets 4, it's a little bit cheeky because you kind of think, well, hang on a minute, you dropped it, so we can't do that, and now you're kind of selling it as this big promotion.
Yes, but the other thing, by the way, is if you earn 40,000 in 1 day, they will give you 60,000 extra and give you platinum status.
But if I was spending $10,000 in a casino in a day, if that was my normal kind of, MO,
Well,
then
you would be single for a start.
well, I think I'm probably close enough to platinum level anyway if I was at that.
Well, you say
level
that,
of
but
betting,
you wouldn't be. You actually wouldn't be.
No, but I
you
just mean
wouldn't.
if you did that regularly, if that was a regular thing you did, you would probably
Yeah.
be at that tier anyway, Fair enough as a one-off. The only thing I can see it benefiting is somebody who maybe's going, who was planning on going for, say, 4 or 5 days, someone who's much more local, who can just nip across to Vegas, who was maybe going to spend, say, $2,500 or $3,000 over a week, would maybe now go, right, well, look, let's just consolidate that, spend it all in 1 day, get the extra tier credits, and then come away kind of thing. And then, you spend the next few days just eating at, like, Denny's and White Castle just to get you through.
Listen, just to be clear, there are no amounts of MGM rewards that can get me to eat a White Castle.
You know what, though? You keep saying, is this the trip we're going to eat at White Castle every time we go to Vegas? And we never do.
No, we have. It's never captured our imagination, our fancy, has it?
No.
It will happen at some point at late night when we're extremely drunk and nowhere else is like open, and I think that those are the kind of circumstances in which White Castle will look good.
By the way, when does it ever happen where nothing else is open in Vegas? That just never happens. That's the
Well,
beauty of it.
I actually think that it does happen a fair bit since like a COVID.
Yeah, I suppose it has actually on the strip. It has happened a couple of times when it's been really late, and we've been like, "Where the hell are we going to get something to eat?" And then last time we stumbled across that little 24-hour eatery in Park MGM, and it was a brilliant find, wasn't it?
Yeah, the Side Grill or something, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was
Something like
really
that.
good.
Betty's Side Grill or something. It was
We
something
would
like that.
definitely go back there again, but that's
Anyway,
24/7.
anyway,
Anyway, we
as I was saying,
digressed.
we digress. This whole MGM rewards thing is just because Vegas has gone Formula One crazy, ultimately.
Well, speaking of Formula One, quickly, just to interject, have you seen the pictures that were released this week of the potential kind of renderings around the Bellagio fountains with Formula One? Mm-hmm. What did you think of them?
I'm worried about the trees.
The trees.
The trees.
I've never heard you say that in your entire life.
No, but I'm very worried about them, and it's what's going to become of the trees. There are a lot of trees there, and as you know, before you start, I recycle. I do my bit.
What? Recycling for you is leaving your like cardboard on the kitchen bench.
Yeah, but that's where you like it.
It's not.
It is.
The recycle bin is where I like it.
Yeah, I know, but I would put it in the normal bin.
So you just think if you leave it on the bench. Anyway, again, we're having a domestic here. But let's just say you worried about the trees is not the reaction that I expected talking about the rendering of Formula One. And you are not the most environmentally friendly of people, it has to be said. But that wasn't what struck me when I saw it. I
Yeah,
kind
but
of thought,
let's discuss those trees. Are the trees going to be underneath the kind of like a grandstand? Are they going to be chopped down? Are they going to be trimmed? What's going to, because they're big trees that have been there a long time. What's going to happen to the trees?
well, you know what? I'd never given them a thought until now. So I don't know. Maybe
Yeah,
we need to.
but now this question is going to plague your like nightmares.
I don't think it is. I don't think it is, but now you've raised it, who knows? If you know what's going to happen to the trees, then please just let us know. So Michael can sleep easy at night knowing what's going on. Honestly, what a weird thing to say
It's,
coming from you. Right, anyway, while we're speaking about the Bellagio and the fountains, I saw something this week, which was, it's happening at the Bellagio, it's at Le Cirque, actually, which is somewhere we have visited before. But they are offering, it's happening on the 18th of March, so it's happening in the next couple of weeks. They are offering a meal of a lifetime. Now, this meal it's 3 celebrity chefs, and I'm not going to be able to pronounce their names, so I will just say that now. It is David Chang, Michael Mina, and, as a little drum roll here, Jean-Georges von der Richten, I think it is. Von der Richten.
sorry. I think that your mic might have cut
Yeah,
out there.
yeah.
I just might need you to repeat that one, please.
Well, it's either Jean-Georges von der Richten or von der Richten, or anyway, him. He makes good food. Him.
Can I ask you something though?
Go on then.
These chefs,
Yes.
right? They're apparently famous, right? Where?
Well, they've all
Because
got
we call them these, like, what do they call them? Like
celebrity chefs.
celebrity chefs, and yet nobody's ever heard of them.
Well, no, well, we're not foodies. I mean, we're not
I,
foodies. People,
I don't care.
Other people will have heard of them, and apparently all 3 already have their own restaurants in Las Vegas, famous restaurants.
Many chefs have like restaurants. In fact, you could argue that it's a chef's natural habitat. In fact, you could even argue that you would expect to find a chef in a restaurant. I just don't buy the whole "I'm a famous chef" thing. I've never heard of any of them.
Anyway, You're interrupting my news. So they have come together and they are creating this meal of a lifetime, which is $5,000 per person, by the way. And it is, what is it? It's 9 courses. I think it's 9 courses of food. Oh, hang on, I've lost my little bit of my knowledge. I've lost my knowledge. No,
Good grief.
here, 9 wines. That's what it is. 6 whiskies. And you also get an invitation to France to tour the vineyard, but it doesn't include the flight to France. £5,000. But apparently it starts with a reception at the terrace where we got engaged, where there'll be champagne and there's some burgers, foie gras. This is my accent. I think I picked the wrong story to try and talk about today.
I think we can all agree you've picked the perfect story for you to talk about.
They'll have a custom Bellagio fountain show. Then guests will be served a 5-course dinner at Le Cirque, which is seafood and caviar platter, ocean trout with foie gras, crispy duck rice with sliced breast and leg confit, Mishima Ranch Wagyu prime rib, and strawberry rhubarb vacherin with elderflower cream. And it sounds nice. I mean, it does sound nice, but at £5,000. I mean, if me and you went, it would
Dollars.
dollars. $10,000.
Yeah, and we have eaten at Le Cirque before. We didn't pay for it, and we certainly didn't. It certainly didn't cost 5,000.
No, it was a gift, and
It was a
it
gift.
probably would have come to about what $350 or something at the end
I
of
think
it.
it was about kind of 400 to 500. I think after all the tips and
Yeah.
the taxes and yeah, but for 5,000, I would want something. So like you drink a wine, you get eternal youth, that kind of thing. That's what I would expect. For
You're
that
gonna
kind
spend
of
more
money.
than $5,000 on that, Michael? Just telling you.
Well, I wouldn't. I wouldn't.
Anyway, that was my bit of news. If you've got a spare, $10,000 lying around and you like a bit of foie gras, then I think go for it.
I don't even know what that is.
I don't either. What the funniest thing ever is watching me and Michael go for a really posh meal because we have to Google what a lot of the ingredients are. We're not great at that. But anyway, we enjoy the food. We always enjoy the food.
So another thing that I'm right. So the Win. You know how last week you were talking about the Win, how it's got a very pristine, very high class
Yes.
personality that we are maybe not in tune with. So
Speak for yourself.
No, I can speak for us both confidently there, I think. Someone there last week won 1.1 million on a Dragon Link machine. And that sounds lovely. It was the grand. But this is the thing. She claimed that she did the 2,500 bet completely by accident, that she pressed the wrong button. And I am having absolutely none of that. I tell you what that is, right? That's someone who, it's a wife whose husband doesn't know that she actually gambles that much.
It does sound like it, doesn't
And
it?
she's won this massive amount, and she's instantly thought, shit. This is going to be all over the kind of news. He's going to find out I did this enormous bet. He's going to be happy about the big winnings, but it's going to expose a few things that I don't want him to know about. I know. I'll just say that it was I pressed the wrong button. Now, I've been to Vegas many times now. You've been to Vegas many times now. Have you accidentally bet $2,500? Which button is that button?
If I had done that, then that would be our whole budget gone. Like in one spin, it would be a bit of a disaster. Then it would be White Castle for breakfast, White Castle for lunch, White Castle for tea every day. But no, what I would say is I'm with you. That is so suspicious because Otherwise, what you're saying is, I mean, first off, you've got to have 2.5 grand in the slot to start off with, which we
Mm.
would never have. Sat there with 2.5 grand. Well, I'm saying we never have. We've done it once when we had a big win, but you've got to have that amount of money in the slot in the first
Yeah,
place.
to do one spin.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And so
Wow.
she trying to say that she did put 2.5 grand in, press like max bet by accident or something like
Mm.
that, and it was one spin and it happened because it's not something that you spin twice, is it?
Mm. Wow. This is the thing, isn't it? I've got no idea. I've
But
got
I
no
mean,
idea how it could possibly happen.
I'm certainly not going to accuse anybody of lying. All I am going to say is it is highly suspicious. There's a little fish swimming by there, isn't there?
Mm. But
Something
still,
that
she won 1.1 million. I mean,
but if you'd been betting 2.5 grand a spin for
how
like a
much
week,
debt? How much debt does she have?
She's probably spent 1 million and won 1.1.
Well, not she won't have actually won a 1.1 because she'll have lost a lot of it in tax.
Yeah,
So yeah. So anyway, I thought that looked iffy to say the least.
it does look iffy, very fishy.
Mm.
My last thing was actually just something that popped up on Twitter that I saw is Tipsy Robot, right? Now, Tipsy Robot has, you know how we have a list, and I'm sure everybody who goes to Vegas regularly has a list of things that they want to do, right? And generally, what happens is every time you go, you try and tick things off your list, but a lot of the time you end up doing the same things because you love them so much, and you end up forgetting to do the same things over and over again, so they stay on the list. Now, Tipsy Robot has been on the list since about 2016 at this point, right? And there's no reason for it because we've walked past it a million times. It's like a 2 minute job where you just. So, Tipsy Robot is where obviously it's in Miracle Mile at the moment. At Planet Hollywood, you basically walk up to a machine, you put your order in. So they have so many set cocktails that you can choose, or set spirit drinks, or you can choose your own. You can choose how much shots you want, how much mixer you want, how much ice you want, things like that. You pay your money, and then the robot makes it for you. There's like, I don't know, 6 or 7 robots or something, and they make your drink for you. You can see it happen, and then you get a QR code on your phone. It releases your drink, and you get your drink. So I think it's a really cool little principle, and an idea. And when it opened up, there was loads of things around it and saying it's fab, great new idea. But I think we've seen maybe one person once using it. And don't know whether it's just because the novelty's worn off and it's been there a while, or maybe it's just in the wrong place. I don't know. But it's been on our list for years to just go and get a Tipsy Robot drink. But because we tend to walk past it on the way to go to a bar, or we're walking past it on the way to go and see a show or something, we kind of go, we'll do that later, we'll do that later. We've never done it. And then I've just noticed that there's one opening up at the Venetian. And I just thought, does that get used enough to warrant two on the strip? I don't know.
Well, I mean, first of all, I mean it is novel, but at the end of the day, it sounds like a very long way to get a single drink.
But it's not. I mean, it's very quick. What I will say is,
Yeah, but you
you
say
don't.
that, but a bartender, like a kind of human one, has never asked me to present a kind of code on my phone. I just tell him what I want, and he gives me what I want.
Yeah, I know that, but it does. It's apparently they're quite expensive as well. I think they're like $20, but obviously you don't have to tip. But I just don't know. It just kind of caught my eye because I thought, oh, I've been thinking recently, like the last couple of times we've been, I thought, oh, I bet that's probably not going to last there much longer because it's not really used very often. But obviously there must be a market for it, or maybe they're thinking they'll get a different clientele or something down at the Venetian than they would at Planet Hollywood. But anyway, if you like Tipsy Robot, if Tipsy Robot is your thing, then they're opening one at the Venetian.
Mm.
And maybe one day we'll actually get a Tipsy Robot. That would actually be a good topic to discuss. What's been on your list for like 10 years
Well,
that you've never got round to in
you say
Vegas?
that one day we will get one, right? And
Uh-huh.
you're probably right, but we've never got one when we've been right outside of it. I can't see us getting one after having to walk to the Venetian to kind of get it.
I know, but I think this is another one opening though. I don't think it's instead of. Although I don't know because I know Miracle Mile are going through a lot of changes at the moment. I
Mm.
don't know, but anyway, there you go. If you want tipsy robot news, you've got tipsy robot
There
news.
was small piece of news. There was a fire at a Mandalay Bay.
Mm.
A very, very minor one in a kind of a rooftop stairwell. But it apparently had to be evacuated, and the kind of fire response team from Clark County came over and dealt with it. There was smoke that you could see coming from it. So yeah, so apparently no injuries or anything like that, but interesting anyway.
You just wonder whether that's just a cigarette. Somebody falling asleep with a cigarette or something, don't you?
You just never know, do you?
Very
But
easily
apparently
done.
they've been very they've been very keen to point out that their internal systems dealt with it all, so it was all safe
I
and
wouldn't
everything
be
was
happy
fine.
with lying in bed with my sprinkler going off like.
No, I don't think it was more smoke removal systems.
Okay. Just think someone's just fallen asleep with a cigarette. Next thing I'm getting drenched lying in my bed with the sprinklers.
Yeah. So anyway,
Right, do you want to play me that sound one more time so I can? Well, I'm saying one more time. It's not ringing any bells with me.
there you go.
I feel like it's the sound of like something counting up. Like,
Hmm.
is it the sound of like, someone's won something and it's counting like it's counting up?
No,
Oh.
but it's a good guess, and by that I mean it's not as bad as your normal guesses.
Is it a dinosaur?
It's not dinosaur.
Is it a
No.
tiger? That's
So
kind of
it's
all I've got.
yeah. So I'm saying that you're not right. Um, I'm just saying that you're very marginally less wrong than normal.
Great. Oh well.
So let's get into the kind of meat of it now, okay? Because what's really fun for me about this is that I'm in a control of it in terms of it's all on my laptop and I manage the kind of software, and I can even mute Lindsay if I want, which is lovely. It really is. So I've given her some notes, but we're not going to talk about the notes that I've actually given her.
Oh, okay.
Okay, because I think that's something that we found out last week, was that it's funny when we get Lindsay thinking on her feet.
Oh, right.
Right.
Great.
So anyway, first of all, a little story. First of all, we first went to Vegas in 2016, and the reason that we went there is because it had always been Lindsay's kind of dream a destination, hadn't it?
Oh God, yeah. I'd always wanted to go since I was a kid.
So we went, and back then, obviously, we didn't have a clue about reward club like members and all of that kind of sort of comps and anything like that. So we did what you used to have to do. We went to an agent, a shop, uh, Thomas Cook it was. I mean, that's obviously gone now, and asked them for it. And this woman, she basically downplayed the whole thing. She said, I think Lindsay had this big kind of a special thing in mind, and she said, "You only need 5 days, and you can stay at some shitty hotel." I can't remember exactly which hotel they said. It certainly wasn't one of the kind of premium ones, was it?
She recommended Bawley's.
Bally's, was it?
Yeah.
And she said, you can do it all, and you can see everything that you want to see in 5 days. But bearing in mind this, what, 7 years later, would not even crack the surface of what we want to see in Vegas. So anyway, I'm going to take Lindsay back in time, okay?
Oh God.
Bear in mind, at that time we went and we saw someone else in a different shop, and they gave us the kind of holiday that we actually wanted. So, but right, I'm going to take you back in time. You book that holiday, okay? You listen to this stupid bloody woman, and you do the 5 days, right?
Right.
Knowing what you know now, what do you do? How do you spend those 5 days? So you've only got 5 days in Vegas as a first timer. How are you going to spend it?
Oh wow. Okay. Um. You have just thrown that on me. I
Yes,
wasn't
I have.
expecting to talk about that at all.
I know, but it's so much more fun for me when I do that. And my enjoyment of this is so important.
Really. Um, yeah, I mean, I suppose the thing is, there's a lot of people who do only go for 5 days, and I know a lot of people who are more, it's a much quicker flight, and it's kind of, an internal flight or whatever else, go for weekends all the time. Um, but obviously, not wanting to labour on it, but obviously the flights from the UK are long and expensive, and the jet lag and everything kind of can knock you for six kind of thing. So when we tend to come a minimum week, but even that seems very short because you lose a little bit of a day either side. So we tend to come for a bit longer than that. But knowing what I know now, if I was there for 5 days,
As your
um,
first ever trip.
so you first have it, so you kind of you've never seen anything of Vegas
Yeah.
at all.
So I suppose what I'm essentially asking is what are the
What are the
essentials?
essentials?
Yeah.
So to me, you've got to do the sign, and I know that's silly because we've only done the sign twice. Um, And the only reason we did it the second time is because we had I got you that big Hulk limousine, and we had it for an hour, and it was a bit like, well, if we just drive downtown, we're going to just waste the hour, so let's go up to the sign. We really only did the sign the first time we went. However, I think the photograph in front of the sign has got to be done. It's just got to be done. It's like a rite of passage.
Everybody needs one of them.
Yeah, I think definitely
Yeah.
100%. So even if you just go up, get it, and come away again, you've
Because
done
it's
it.
ultimately very disappointing.
It is. I mean, it is. As an experience, it's a bit naff,
Yeah,
isn't
I
it?
mean, you can't get anything from it that you can't get from seeing a photo of it online.
I know, but you need the photo.
You do,
That's the
you
thing.
do,
You
you
do
do.
need the photo. I would say downtown is a must. I would
Okay.
say anybody who goes 5 days for the first time and doesn't go downtown, who just keeps it on the strip, hasn't seen Vegas properly. And even if that's just one night, even if they go down for 3 hours, 4 hours for one night, and you see Fremont Street Experience, and you see the live entertainment, and get the vibe, and see the shows, see the zip line, everything like that, and everything that goes on. I think that's a must. I do not think you can go to Vegas and get the full effect if you don't do at least a few hours downtown.
I agree with that. And I think I remember our first trip. We ended up staying at Aria, and we kind of decided that we were going to go out downtown, and the taxi rank, the guy who was calling people over, the guy that you tip for no reason.
Yeah,
He was actually doing a little dance and everything. It was quite good fun. But he was obviously there was a few people in front of us. He was saying, "Where are you going?" And then he said, "Oh, okay, whatever." And then he came to us and said, "We're going downtown." I think he said, "Finally, some fun people."
yeah, he
Or
did.
something like that,
He
and it
did.
was so. I do think that it's an absolute must. It really. I mean, you're not going to get a taste of what you're not going to experience Las Vegas without going downtown.
I think when you first go, though, I mean, I certainly think for us, we had it on our list to go on the first time, but we didn't. It was if we can get there. That's how we saw it as. It was yeah, if we can get there, because it felt very much like there's too much on the strip. We're not going to get everything to see everything we want to do on the strip. Why would we then travel somewhere else to see somewhere else when we're not even going to see everything within walking distance? So we were kind of like, will we, won't we? And so, but we ended up, we did do it. We said, let's just go, we'll do it, and then we can tick it off the list. And then, of course, we loved it. We absolutely loved it, and said, how could we? We nearly missed this, so we nearly didn't have it on the list. And I get that vibe sometimes when I tell other people, if they say, "Oh, we're only going for 4 or 5 nights," I'll say, "You've got to go downtown at least one of those nights. It's just got to be done."
Yeah, even like you say, even if you don't stay downtown,
No, no,
you
just
have to visit it.
yeah, definitely. Um, I'm gonna say. I'm going to say the fountains, but the fountains are just you don't have to spend long at the fountains. You don't have to go and, it's not like a half a day out or something.
It's funny though. The fountains are funny because it is when you don't know about like Vegas, you do kind of go there, and you think I have to see them, and so the very first time you go there, you make an effort to go and see them.
Yeah.
And then every single day after that, you're walking around. It's like, oh, the fountains are off again. Oh, the fountains are off again. Oh, I'm sick of them, of the sight of them bloody fountains. Yeah, it's like you can't, you just see them naturally without even trying to, an
You
awful
do.
lot.
And it's, although they don't lose, I don't think they lose their like I'm still impressed every time I see them, but they do lose the novelty. Like
Yeah.
it does end up just being like, oh, they're off again, like you say. Or certainly if you stay at the Cosmo and you've got a balcony view over the top of them, you know you start going in, and the very first time they come on, you're like, oh, the fountains are on, and then after like the 10th time, you're just a bit like, oh yeah, they're on. Like you don't even think about it. But definitely, I think first timer, you've got to go see that. Um, it's very hard. Now, for me, I would say if I came away from Vegas and I hadn't seen the inside of the Venetian, I think. The inside, so I'm talking maybe more the themed hotels. To me, the themed hotels are a must. So if I hadn't seen the inside of the Venetian and the whole St Mark's Square and the gondolas inside, and I would be very upset. That I would think that was something I'd missed if I hadn't seen the New York roller coaster.
Because I think it is true that, I mean, we both went to Vegas without knowing an awful lot about it. I mean, we didn't watch any like vlogs or anything
No.
back then. We went in like almost blind. I think it was probably when was it? Probably after the kind of second trip. So I think it was probably in the build up to 2020 trip. Would that be about right when we started to watch vlogs?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
So we didn't really know what to expect, and all that we really knew is there's a lot of these themed hotels which, you don't really see like anywhere else. So we kind of wanted to kind of tick them all off our list.
Yeah, 100%. And I think, and everybody used to say to me before I went, oh, every hotel you can spend hours in every hotel, and you can spend, you can't get it. You don't get it. You can't get the scale, you can't get the size, and you can walk in and out of every hotel and have a look at it and come out, but you want to experience it a bit more, and the intricate details, all the different kind of little branding, and the way people are dressed, the uniforms of the staff, and the carpets, and even like the door handles and the lighting, and every single themed hotel is so intricately designed and unique, that I think the main ones that I would want to see. I think you've got to go Bellagio and Caesars. You've just got to
Yeah,
you've got to have seen them.
because they're
I,
proper icons of the strip, aren't they?
they are completely, and I think you have to see the Venetian. I think you have to see um, New York, and I would say you have to see probably Paris, just because although Paris to me.
Excalibur and
Yeah,
Luxor.
definitely,
Yeah.
definitely Excalibur. Yeah, 100%. See, Paris to me isn't on my top list of hotels I want to stay. However, every single picture, postcard, every single thing that you see that usually has around the fountains or the centre of the strip, Paris has got a big, a big position on there with the Eiffel Tower and the balloon and the Arc de Triomphe. There's a lot of actual kind of like icons on the strip that are based around the Paris hotel.
Because the first time that we went, I say we went to the top of the Eiffel Tower,
We did.
and it's never even entered our heads once to do that again.
No.
Is that something that you would want to do again? Like say, if you were kind of planning your first trip again, would that
I
make the
think if I
cut?
was, yeah, I think if I was planning my first trip, the three things, and to be fair, they were on our list the first time we went, would be the roller. You would have to do the Big Apple roller coaster in New York, New York. You have to do the Eiffel Tower, and you have to do a gondola ride at the Venetian. They were the three tick 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 that I had to do. And at the time, I wanted to see the Mirage volcano show.
Which
They were the fourth.
I'm not sure that we did see that on that first trip, though.
We did, but we were on the other side of the street, and I think we caught the end of it because we were all confused about when does it happen, when does it not happen, and we hadn't looked into it. I think we caught the end of it. Either we caught the end of it or we drove past it in a taxi. I think that's what we did.
Was it one of those where we felt the heat of it, but didn't necessarily see it? I think it might have been that.
Yeah. Now, I tell you the other thing that I would add to the list, and again, not everybody would maybe go for this, but I think you've got to see the Strat, whether that is, I think the observation tower at the Strat, now whether that's going to the top of the world restaurant and being on the revolving restaurant and having a nice meal, whether that's doing the rides off the top of it, or whether it's just going to the observation tower because it is the tallest observation tower in half of the US or whatever. I think that's on the list because whenever anyone shows Las Vegas, when you see it, that the X-Scream specifically is the roller coaster that people can't. I mean, it's not even a roller coaster; it just throws you off the end and then brings you back again. But that's
it's a torture device.
It is
what it is. Yeah.
But if I had gone to Vegas for 5 days, came away, and I hadn't done that, or hadn't seen it, or hadn't seen it with my own eyes, I would think I'd missed that.
You see, this is quite interesting from my point of view because I know that you're basically. I've asked you what you would do with hindsight, and you're basically just reliving our first trip.
Yeah.
So what did you not do on the first trip? But you have done since that you would like to insert into there?
I think the first trip, the only kind of nice meal I remember us having on that first trip was in lemongrass at Aria.
Yeah, but what about the Strat that you just talked about? The top of the world restaurant.
Yeah, definitely.
Because you said that's the only nice meal that you can.
Yeah, no, they were the two nice meals we had. So, and I think the rest, I can't even remember when we went. I can't remember where we ate. Do you know what I mean? I can't actually remember. Like, I was thinking, did we go to that restaurant? No. Did we go? I can't remember other than them two restaurants.
I remember we ate at a British pub at Aria, and there was this thing called the Hangover waffle, and it was incredible. I'd never heard anything like it. And I remember the second time we went, 3 years later actually, and we were staying all the way up a Venetian, and it was so good we walked all the way back down to Aria to try and have it again. And it closed down. I was absolutely heartbroken.
So I think the thing that I am just describing our first trip because that was all the things I'd ever wanted to do. So there were all the touristy things. We obviously did the helicopter over the Grand Canyon as well, which I loved. I think just what I'd insert in maybe would be just more of getting the feel of Vegas. So I mean, we love a gamble now, and we were terrified that first time. And again, when I speak to a lot of people who casinos and gambling over here just aren't the same as casinos and gambling in Vegas. And over here, I think they've almost got a little bit of it, and people might not agree with me here, but they've always got a little bit of a seedy reputation over here. Casinos are kind of somewhere that you end up at the end of the night if there's nowhere else open, or it's where people go and then they lose all their money, and it's not like it doesn't feel glamorous like it does in Vegas.
I think you're right. I think there's almost a stigma to it here.
Yeah, there is.
Which obviously doesn't exists in like Vegas. It's very, like you say, it's very glamorous in Vegas. It's extremely James Bond in Vegas.
It is.
Whereas here, it is a little bit a fruit machine-y, if you know what I mean.
It just doesn't have the same feel. To my mind, it's always been. This is before I used to go to Vegas regularly, mind, but it was very much like a place you would just go at the end of the night when nowhere else was open, all the clubs had shut or whatever else. So I think when we first went to Vegas, I went with that kind of, not that impression, but just a bit like casinos are a little bit wary. I'm going to lose all my money in them. I'm not going to have a go. It was very intimidating and quite scary. And so I think that's what I would change on the first trip. Be braver. Be a bit braver in the casinos. Have a go on a slot machine. They're not going to bite. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, they are going to bite if you know, lose $500 in a few minutes, but they're not going to bite. You can have a go. You can be part of it. It's not something that other people do. And I think I would just, I also think I would just allow more time for kind of chill Vegasing. You know, when you go out and you're kind of not sure where you're going to end up and you just get carried along with it and we'll go down Link Promenade and, you know, you end up on a pub crawl and you just, whereas I think the first time we went, I was so regimented.
I knew where I was going to be at any minute of any day
I
on
mean,
that
it was
first trip.
basically by the hour, that first trip, I was like, this hour we're doing this and this hour we're doing that because I had so much I wanted to do. But yeah, I love that first trip. That's why we go back so much because that first trip was so
So,
special.
so what about the shooting experience of the first trip?
Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed that because it was something I'd never done before, but it's something we've never done since. And I have to say,
I've got to contest this assertion that just has because I have suspicions, and I have done for quite some time. We stayed at a very posh Scottish country estate once, and one of the activities that you could do there was a clay pigeon shooting, where you get given this a shotgun and you had to, and they flung these kind of clay frisbees over your head almost, and you had to obviously blast them out of the sky. Now her aim on that was suspiciously good. She was knocking those things out of the air like they were laser guided. So I've often wondered whether, and she's very, very raggy anyway. So I do wonder whether this whole, oh no, I've never shot a man before. Whether I wonder whether that's entirely honest, and I wonder it mostly silently. I think I don't really want to know the answer, if I'm honest.
Hey, I was good at clay pigeon shooting, to be fair. Very good.
Suspiciously good.
But when
Yeah.
we went to the actual shooting range, the first time I went to Vegas, the one of the guns that I had to shoot was so powerful. I mean, it pushed you back, didn't it?
It was
The
a
power.
Kalashnikov.
Yeah, and so I looked at that and I was like, I can't fire that. Like, I'm gonna end up going through the the wall at the back. So they gave me this one that was slightly smaller. But if you remember, I went for it. I was just going crazy
Yes.
with this gun, and like Michael's got loads of stills of like, I mean, it just looks like this kind of like a flamethrower. There's like flames coming out the front of the gun. But yeah, I did enjoy that, but we've not done it since. And I have to
No.
say, I haven't like thought, oh, we've missed out on that. I want to go back again. The other thing that we did, well, we did a couple of things. One was we did the record room.
That wasn't on the first trip, though.
No, it wasn't on the first trip. No,
The
sorry, I'm
record
only
room
allowed
was
to talk
fine.
about the first trip.
No,
Yeah,
that's fine. I'm just.
we did the record room where you basically spend money and then go for half an hour to an hour. But this was all before we vlogged. This is kind of why I'm talking about it because it wouldn't be on the vlogs. You pay for like half an hour is enough because by the end of the half an hour you are knackered. But basically you go in, they put you in a full kind of boiler suit, steel toe caps, boots, and you choose your weapon, and basically
Which
they leave
was
you with
a baseball bat or a crowbar.
a crowbar.
Yeah.
And there was different types of baseball, but like different types of bats, like, sizes. And then you go into a room and it's full of just like machinery, like laptops and keyboards and printers and televisions and radios
VCRs.
and yeah,
All the
all of
all
that.
the all the old stuff that we don't use anymore.
And basically you just get let loose on it to get all your rage out, so you can just smash anything you want to smash and stand on it and jump on it and throw it I mean, like you say, you are shattered by the end of the half an hour, but you do feel great afterwards.
You feel
And then,
cleansed, don't you? You feel like you've kind of got everything out.
yeah, yeah,
I would do that again in Vegas, I must say. That was really good fun.
yeah. I think I would do that again. It was cool. And then you come out and you graffiti on the wall, don't you? You put your name on, so our name will be on there somewhere. So we did that before we vlogged. Another thing that we did before we vlogged, which I did really enjoy, was we did a day trip to LA, and did all of the kind of the main points you would want to see. So we did like, the
Yeah, but
Hollywood sign
there
and
was a lot of points that you probably didn't want to see either, like the toilet where um, George Michael was like arrested.
yes.
Yeah, so there were a lot of there's a lot of detail that maybe
Yeah.
could have been left out.
And we went around Skid Row and things like that, didn't we?
Mm.
But you went down Beverly Hills, you saw Rodeo Drive,
You saw
um,
the Fresh Prince house,
yeah, Fresh Prince House, the Chinese movie theatre, like the Hollywood
Nakatomi
sign.
Nakatomi Plaza.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we did that, and I mean it's a long day. It's very much a long day to do that from Vegas, but it was a fab day. But if I was there for 5 days, I certainly wouldn't be throwing that in. That's for sure. That's a full day out. But yeah, I think I've answered that. Do you think that? I think that would fill the 5 days. All the things I've
Yeah,
just
I was
said.
just interested to see, with the benefit of kind of hindsight, what you made of that first trip, and I agree with you in a way that you almost have to earn your Vegas stripes in terms of you've got to tick these things off the kind of list,
Yeah.
and there's so much that you have to do, and like the kind of touristy things. Because I think we're at the point where we feel extremely at home in Vegas. We kind of get there, and it maybe doesn't wow as much as it kind of once did, but it just feels more like reassuring, and it's kind of good for the soul now, isn't it? But I think
Yeah, I'm
that
not sure about it not wowing. I
that's-
don't know.
no, no, no,
I get
no,
what you
hang on.
mean. It doesn't.
No, no. I said that it doesn't wow as much. It still
Yeah.
does wow, but it maybe just doesn't wow as much.
It doesn't have the shock factor that it did on the first. Like the first when we first drove onto the strip, and that shock factor of wow, like bloody hell, like it feels like you're on a movie set. It feels like everything just felt like 50 times the size of everything back home, and it just was. So it doesn't have that. It doesn't have that like shock, but it just has, like you say, it's like a warmth, like a, oh god, you just feel kind of like you're back where you belong, kind of feeling to it. But yeah,
Because it's interesting because both of because like your mum and dad have been and my mum and dad have been, and both of them were of the mind of I've been there once, I've seen it, I don't need to go again.
yeah,
And they
and of
they
the
can't.
mind of 3 nights is enough.
Yeah.
I was like, what?
So I mean, I don't quite know how they left with that feeling, if I'm perfectly honest. I mean,
Yeah,
I think that I can understand how maybe there are people out there who won't like like a culture of Vegas. Um, but there's certainly like a touristy things. If you're just going to go there and do that, there's a hell of a lot more um, that you can that you can see in like 3 days.
yeah. I mean, the other thing we did on the first trip was go to see a show, and I would still add that in. Like,
Mm,
yeah, I love seeing shows, so. Yeah,
yeah,
it was nice reminiscing a bit there actually and doing all that because you do take them for granted. Like we have only been on the roller coaster once.
yeah.
We have only done the Eiffel Tower once. We did do a gondola ride once. We've done the Strat rides once. We've never actually been back and done any of them.
Yeah.
But I do wonder whether they form a little bit of like a Vegas essentials list or an essentials. Must have a photo at all of these spots or something like that.
Possibly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an interesting one to kind of like look back. Um, but anyway, I'm sure that we'll talk about that first trip and the reasons for it again at some point in the kind of future.
Definitely.
Anyway, now it's time for the answer to the question that's probably been driving Lindsay a little bit mental. Well, more mental than she normally is, so I'm not quite sure how that would work. But do you want to know the answer to the Vegas sounds this week?
Yeah, but can you not play as a longer clip so I've got a bit more of a reference?
No.
Oh, great.
That's
Okay.
that's called the answer.
Well, I've got no
And
idea what goes do do do. Oh,
that
that's the other way around. Do do do. Oh, I do feel like I might know this one, whereas last time I didn't feel like I was going to know. I feel like I might kick myself on this one.
what I'm going to do, I'm going to play it once more, and then I will reveal the answer. Then I'll play a longer clip.
Put me out my misery.
Oh, that doesn't sound like very much fun at all, actually. I might have to reconsider
Oh,
that.
just get on with it.
Right, so what it is it's the bat splat. You know when cats, hats and bats, or cats, bats and hats, whichever one. It's when the bat comes flying in and splats on the kind of screen.
Does
That's
it? I
that's
thought
the
he did
flap
more of
wings.
like a splat noise.
No, that's the wings are flapping as he's coming.
Play is it then?
This is the answer, the kind of longer one. So you heard it?
It's still not getting me. I'm still not going, oh yeah.
Well, it's you can hear ting 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 where it kind of starts to apply the values.
I feel like we haven't played that game for far too long.
We literally played it on the last trip and quite a lot.
I know, but that was far too long.
Well, it was what, in September, was
Yeah,
it?
far too long.
Yeah, it is far too long. Anyway.
No,
See, ting,
it's still not ringing bells.
ting, 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 ting. That's when it's giving you. It's a locker link, so it adds the value to the other bats already
Well,
on the kind of screen.
I'm rubbish, clearly, at this. At that point, I'm usually just clapping and dancing and squealing over the noise, so, if it's paying me out.
This is true, actually. This is true. Anyway.
So, let's finish off by doing a couple of questions. Again, people have been sending them in over Twitter. So, one is, do you know... Sorry, this is from Shaka Zulu. Do you know...
Which, by the way, is an awesome name for a band.
It is a brilliant name. Very good name.
I would pay to see that band.
Would you?
Even if I didn't know anything about them. Based on the name alone.
Anyway, do you know if or when Cosmo is going to be part of MGM Rewards? It's definitely going to be. So the if is answered. The when is a little bit more loose. Certainly if you have a look online, there's still nothing that they're confirming in terms of dates. They very much say a date will be announced soon, it'll be coming soon. The rumour is, or the rumour we heard, the last rumour we heard was that it was April. However, considering it's now March already and there's still nothing on the agenda, it might be going back a little bit later. But it is going to be included. It's just a case of when. And I would hesitate to say it's probably going to be kind of mid this year at some point. Unless you have any further information, then please let us know.
I very rarely have any information.
I know. I know that firsthand. Anyway, question 2 is hangovers and hampies. Hi guys. If you haven't watched their vlogs, please do so. They are a lovely couple. And anyway, you can only pick one restaurant to eat in Vegas. Where are you picking? And I'm throwing this to you.
Oh yeah, but
Yeah.
Are you hoying that to me because you know it's such an absolutely fiendish question?
Completely.
Because if you can only, because if you first of all, it's got to be somewhere relatively cheap.
Yes. Well, I
and
suppose if money was no object, maybe. I don't know.
when is money not an object?
Well,
But anyway, so it's got to be somewhere fairly cheap because I'm not paying, $200 for every single meal, like 3 times a day.
You also wouldn't want, like, I wouldn't want to fine dine every day either. Like, you know what I mean?
This is the other thing. It's got to be a very varied menu as well. And it's got to be somewhere which does the kind of breakfast, lunch and snacks, or, breakfast, meals and snacks. So it's a fiendish one. And location is an issue here, right? Because say if I pick somewhere on the south end of the strip, and I'm going to stay at the north end of the kind of strip, I don't want to walk all the way there and back 3 times a day. So
it's a good point.
Yeah.
Is this all leading to you saying White Castle?
No, that wasn't on my list.
Was
to
it
be
not?
honest? No. So I was thinking, I like the public house at Luxor,
Right.
but it's very South Strip, and I don't think it's open for breakfast. So that's a no. I really, really like snacks at Mirage, but again, that's a little bit north, like
Yeah,
northern
and
Strip,
it's just
isn't it?
burgers and kind of like cheese grills and stuff like that. I think you'd be very bored with the menu quite quickly.
I don't think I would, because it is, as we've talked about, the best burger in Vegas. And the future of it, I don't know. So it's a fiendish thing to ask. So, what are your thoughts on this?
So basically, you're not answering it, you're throwing it back to me.
No, I'm just going to consider it a little bit
I'm
more.
going to say something like Tom's Urban, or it's called something else now, isn't it? It's not called Tom's Urban.
It's called Tom's Sports or something.
Yeah.
Or it's something like that.
I'm going to say somewhere like that just because, again, reasonably priced. It has a varied menu, so if you're wanting your burgers, you can get it. If you're wanting kind of pizzas and stuff, you can get it. If you're wanting something, what did we have last time? We had some nice little
We had the
tacos, and
yeah.
we've had nachos. So to me, that's the type of food that I like. So I think there would be enough variety. Plus, it's in New York, which I absolutely love. You can sit inside if you're cold. You can sit outside and people watch. You know where Brooklyn Bridge is. So I'm thinking something like Tom's Urban, or we really enjoyed. Is it the Yard House on the Link Promenade? Because again, that was a really good vibe. It had loads of different beers, good menu, reasonably priced, and good people watching, like up Link Promenade and stuff like that. You can kind of come and go, and it's central for everything else. So I'm going to stick. It's middle of the road, but I think I'm going to stick with that.
I would go Yard House as well, because it's on a monorail station. So you can get to it and from it quite easily. It's got quite decent kind of access. If you were going to go Tom's Urban and you ended up on the kind of south end of the kind of strip, it would be a little bit more difficult to get around from there.
Yeah, but going back to personalities, the south end of the strip is my crack.
Well, yeah,
It's
I get
my type of crack. Do you know
the
what I
other
mean?
thing I was thinking about was, and this may be too vague, but what's the one at Park MGM? Italy. Now, could you say I would eat at that one place? Does that count as one place? Because you've got all the little vendors inside
Well,
it.
no, because then you could say you're going to eat at a food court, and then the food court
suppose.
it's got loads of different vendors. So no, you're being too cheeky with the answer there.
I prefer resourceful.
Really.
I do. Yeah.
Anyway, we probably played quite safe with that answer, but I just think taking everything into account, like location and range of menu and prices and everything, I think that's probably.
I don't think that we've played it safe. I think that we've taken it very seriously. Maybe
Yeah.
maybe more seriously than it was intended. But yeah, it kind of it kind of shows that we've both spent a lot of time considering this.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about like the thing I brought up, like a big fancy menu, and then I brought up drink, and then now the questions about food as well. I feel like I definitely need me tea. I'm hungry. I think that's probably
By the
it.
way, the other one that I was thinking about was a whiskey liquor up, but because it's a downtown.
Yeah.
You know, would you want to travel that much? It's a difficult
And
question.
the people watching only really gets good at night, doesn't it?
I don't know,
You might get a bit sick from revolving around all day as well.
Is it even open in the morning, actually?
I don't know. Probably not.
Anyway,
that's probably the end of podcast 2. We've probably rambled on for far too long there. But we do appreciate everybody who's listening, so thank you if you've lasted this long. Next week, there will not just be me and Michael. We do have a guest, but we'll just surprise you next week with who that guest is.
probably won't be a massive shock.
Yeah. The week after, we also have another guest. But we do have some different types of guests lined up in the future weeks as well. We're going to kind of mix and match between us rambling and inviting other people to join us.
Because
So anyway,
you must be bored of us by now. You know, I think that you must be. I mean, so I mean, we will try and get someone who's actually interesting and has a much greater kind of insight than we do. Which doesn't really take much.
No. Okay, well, thanks for listening, and we will catch you next time. See ya.
Bye.